Hello, this is Rory McLeod. And you're listening to Retrospectives with John Broughton on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
Do you recall your very first songwriting efforts and your initial motivation for wanting to write songs?
Songwriting. Blimey, it might have been at school. Making rhymes up, really, I think. Vaguely. I didn't play an instrument then, but I might have started even making poems, probably some words, writing them down, and stories that got read out in class, something I had a paper around, so it kind of might have started there with the teacher saying something was, they liked something I'd done, which was pretty rare, really, for me, for a teacher to say something was they liked, So it might have started around then.
Yeah. How much has your background in busking contributed to what your stage persona is today? Do you think you'd be a much different stage performer had you not had that busking history?
I think so, yeah. No, it's probably made me, what's the word, as a busker. Well, there are different styles of busking, I suppose. I've got a friend who plays harp, Colombian harp, and he plays very mellifluous, ethereal stuff in the underground subways, which is lovely. And my kind of busking was perhaps more grabbing it, trying to get people's attention, a bit more physical. Although I was still doing my own songs a lot of the time, rather than anyone else, busking the usual covers, that you might get for buskers. When I was with the band, we played old jug band music and old country blues, kind of acoustically, and I did a bit of fire eating when we break a string down the marketplace and try to keep the crowd then until we got arrested. So I think it does in some ways. Rhythm and even travelling might have helped a bit because of travelling in places where people didn't understand the words. So I was, the rhythm and getting people to dance became a part of it as well. A rhythmic kind of way of singing, a bit like old rock and roll and Chuck Berry, I suppose, or that kind of thing. But rhythm, using kind of a rhythmic kind of percussive kind of sound, and also probably affected my voice as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a shouter, but I think it might have ruined my voice in some ways, and I had to kind of, after a while, back off. I'd be shouting a lot and ruin my voice and singing quite hard, and realise that the microphone, on stage, a microphone was another instrument itself, and there's a microphone technique involved. We wouldn't have had Bing Crosby. There's never been a microphone invented. But we might have had Ethel Merman shouting, pinning you to the back wall, with I suppose years ago, before there was microphones, there was a bit of it was very more physical, music played. Somehow, I imagine that. I don't know, I wasn't there then. So I think it does, it has affected some kind of way, yeah.
I guess with busking would also help you enormously developing a technique in grabbing an audience's attention and holding it, because you're working basically to a mobile audience, aren't you?
That's true, yeah. People are passing by. I did pick crowds up. I mean, there was a crowd. It depends on where you are as well, A marketplace. Well, I was in Leicester Square years ago, which is in London, and I was living, I think I was living in Germany, and come back, and I decided to bus there, and I had a captive. Well, it was a big crowd, and I got arrested. Then I got pulled up for willful obstruction because the crowd were obstructing people coming by. But I had a good crowd then, so that was quite different. It became more of a performance. But I think in some ways, yes, grabbing attention, holding a crowd. But some people throw money in anyway. Like back to my friend with the harp, quite ethereal thing. Some people are walking by. They're not quite being wallpaper music, but they're not jumping out of their skin and trying to grab people's attention, like a street theatre person might, or in that physical way. So I guess it depends really on if I'm busking with other people. It's much more fun busking with other people. Like if I was playing trombone with someone, because there's a bit more rapport and you're having fun with each other. In a kind of way, like you might be jamming and enjoying that kind of camaraderie and what you're creating together. So there's different kind of ways of looking at it, I suppose. Grabbing a crowd or playing to passers-by. I did sometimes busk just with a wee amp, a small amplifier, battery amp and my harmonica, and that would grab people because I play quite rhythmically, so it was different and it was easier to carry than just the guitar and everything else, you know. So it varied. But,
You spent time working as a circus performer as well. Tell us about those days and what led you to eventually turn your hand to music.
I'd been playing music before then, but there was a time someone in London when I was out of work taught me how to make my own torches and do some fire eating. So I tried a bit of that with the band. But when I was in Mexico, I was looking for work, and there was some farm work I did, and building and this other kind of work. I come across heard there was a circus nearby, a small Aztec family circus, and I'd done the fire eating, and I'd done a bit of mime. So I joined as a musical clown, really. I went and asked, I got the gig, I got a job, and I was the exotic act. There were small villages, in Mexico, and being from London, England, which I never thought was very exotic, but in Mexico, in these small villages, they thought I was, desde Rory el Fakir, desde Londres, Inglaterra, and there was a big act, this big. Yeah. So I was with King Kong and the Lions on another night. I was part of the exotic act, so I developed a kind of wee pantomime kind of act, a vagabond clown costume that I had, only because I didn't have any other proper costumes. I had feet, these old leather shoes that were broken away, and I made them talk and did a bit of I tried to make people laugh, really, and they did seem to laugh a little. But with pantomime, because my language at the time, I learned my Spanish with the circus, the words for curtain and make-up and all the all the kind of words, really, all the words you need for like rope and pulling the tent up, carpa, and so it was just I was young enough to want to have that kind of experience. I mean, other people might go and join the Foreign Legion, I suppose. But I put my hand to it because I had done a bit of music, so I was a musical clown more. But I did a bit of fire eating. So. But it's the petrol and the siphoning the jeep wasn't. It's the lead in the petrol made me nauseous after a while. I got quite ill from. You can get poisoning, like cancer of the mouth and the belly because of the lead in the petrol. It's toxic. So I stopped that. But, I guess that the music was part of all that international kind of language in a way, rhythm and visual things, miming, pantomime like Marcel Marceau and clowns, traditional clowns and Marx Brothers and whatever, remembering some of those as a kid, growing up with watching them. And so that was part of that. I don't know if I answered your question there. Sorry.
No, you did.
Yeah.
It's been over 30 years now since your first album, and through the years it's not a massive catalogue of recordings. I guess would that be more for because of financial constraints, because you do primarily put them out yourself, or is it because live performing has been pretty much your priority?
A bit of both, really. Saving up for the album and saving up to pay everyone, and even friends. I wouldn't want favours from them. I'd always want to pay them properly, and even rehearsals I'd get them. In fact, I realised, who was it that said, I think it was Count Basie, who was once asked, how do you keep your band together all these years? And he said, I paid them, so I think it does help. It's respecting friends as well, but I think I had to save up for different albums, and I was touring quite a lot, so I didn't have much time to get a record and discipline myself in the studio. But when I did, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I still enjoy the studio. It's like painting, really. I love arranging stuff and spending time creating a kind of landscape of sorts, or songs are like maps, and I'm in a way, and I'm trying to make bring a song to life and make it richer and give it more depth. So I suppose take a bit of time doing that. These days, people can have their own recording studios, and it's got almost like a fountain pen, kind of. Everyone's got their own cameras and studios, so there's things you can do, quite cheaply these days.
True.
I suppose, but I never. It wasn't. I think I was always a live act, performing and doing that, and never having the time sometimes, or given the time to recording. But when I do, I love it. I mean, I've got lots and lots of songs that I haven't haven't recorded. There's just ideas and unfinished things, that scraps of bit odds and ends, of songs and things. So that haven't been recorded.
I felt you've always played to your strengths in the studio. Your records have never suffered from anything that you'd call overproduction. They've always had that spontaneous, almost live performance feel to them. Has that always been a priority to you when going in to record?
Yes. It's almost become a philosophy, I suppose, but trying to capture a moment in the studio, and it's so that live feel is the main. Is trying to capture that. All the records and recordings I've ever loved they go back to a time when it was microphones, and there might have been a whole band around the microphone, placed, whether it was Duke Ellington or Louis Armstrong or Robert Johnson facing a wall because people thought he was shy. But they're the things that move me, really. When I've sometimes regretted recording something too soon, because I think, when it's been a new song, I thought, I'll go and record that. And actually, I think part of the composition and the writing and inhabiting a song is quite important, I think, so that you know it inside out and you're living in it, and then it's ready to record. Because I think when you phrase a song, the way you're still composing it as you're performing it for the first time in front of people. Each time you're still searching that, a way of doing it, and it becomes a thing in itself, when you're playing it live, and then you're ready maybe to record it before it's got too tired. Sometimes you can be too early. So, but yeah, capturing that live moment, definitely important, and not trying to falsify the moment and pretend go through with voice, I don't know, the correction and all this other stuff, It's really looking for the soul, I suppose, or the music I like is something that it moves me in some ways, and it's normally because of it's a performance, I suppose. And it's strange actually about records, because I was asked there was a Dylan album, Freewheeling album, which is a great album, an early album of his that I think Radio 2 over here, BBC, asked quite a few number of people to take a song and do it, and interpret it some way, and I couldn't resist, but I thought, well, I did. I think the one I wanted to do, I couldn't do. The Honey, Allow Me One More Chance. It was a harmonica piece, probably. That's why. And throwaway kind of song, talking blues. But I decided, well, Dylan got it from a guy called Henry Thomas, the original, and I'm not American. And also, if he ever did it again, he would probably change it. And also, things can sometimes get fossilised on albums. I mean, in a lovely way. I mean, it's fantastic albums, and they become icons, and that song will never change after that, because everyone's listened to that version. But when you think someone's captured a moment of someone performing, like Robert Johnson, he might have had a better day, or he had a good day, or some people have a bad day. So I decided I'd really just completely remake the song, and did it quite different in my own accent, and I did lots and lots of verses, and tried to have fun with it and reinvent it and make it my own. And because I think in a way it was that whole idea of how things can, people even play mistakes. I've met quite lovely old singers who listen to old 78s, and they'll play the mistake because it was on the record,
Yeah.
They'll play it that way. And part of me wants to always make something, a bit different and reinvent it and make it my own, and somehow. So yeah, that whole process is an interesting kind of journey, really, recording and getting things down like a tattoo. You might regret. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I love it. I'll try and do it live. The last one I did with a band. I have a band, and we did it live as much as we could because we didn't want to pretend that and overdubs, and we wanted people to say, "Well, this is us live. If you want to book us, this is what we sound like." And there's no kind of that's it. Yeah.
Talk a bit about your songwriting. Has the method or procedure, the way you go about writing a song, changed much through the years?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Perhaps not censor myself. I'm much more self-critical than I was. There's things I won't let go, or won't be enough, So I might ponder things a bit longer sometimes because if I've got the luxury to. I don't know. It's hard to say because every song is different. Every song comes from a different moment, and it's an experiment in a way as well. You never know what's going to come out, how it's going to come out. So it's very difficult. I think each song's different and a journey. And some I'm happy with, some I've changed, some have changed in the process of performing them. As I said earlier, that process is an interesting process. So I'm sure. Well, you might call it maturity. I don't know. One matures as a craftsman or as like a stone carver might, or any kind of person like that. And if you love words, you're going to choose them more carefully. They might have more resonance. I think also I tended years ago. Because I love rock and roll and rhythm and spitting words out in that way, that I tended probably to just, it didn't help my singing much. I love slower songs now and singing and more lyrical. And I think also I quite like less is more as well. Because words can get in the way of emotion, I think, if you've got so many words. And so I've always loved the simplest songs, really. Whether it's listening to Sam Cooke, for example, singing "Change Is Gonna Come." It's almost based in gospel and spiritual, but it's got so much resonance, and so there are things you can learn from listening to other songwriters and other singers and songs from the past. That I think, oh, what a beautiful song! Like "Spuddy, Can You Spare a Dime" by Yip Harburg is a beautiful song, and it had a lot of resonance at the time. So, and he collaborated though as well. So I think it's quite nice to collaborate with someone. I thought, okay, so I don't do that often, but I have done recently a bit. Someone's had some tunes and we got together, and I like that. It's fun because you can bounce off each other, and also I prioritise. When I'm working with someone else, I prioritise. Whereas if it's just me, I'll just say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not lazy, but I've got gardening to do, or cooking, or some other jobs that I can find to do. So I don't know. I think get in the way a bit more.
Is there any one thing you strive to achieve in a song that says to you that this is finished now, it's a finished work?
I guess it is nice to feel that you've... Although there was a poet once, I think it was Auden or someone, who said a poem's never finished, it's always abandoned. So there's some songs that I've gone back to and thought, oh yeah, that didn't work very well, and that. But I think if you mull songs over a wee bit more that you're working on, leave it for a while, come back to it, and you might, and sing it, and sing it, not just, it's not on paper, it's to be heard and listened and try it out. I think living with it, as I said, inhabit it, then I think, I don't know, I think you get an idea if it's finished. My songs can be quite long. I think they could tend to be too long sometimes, but I don't often think of airtime or radio. I'm thinking of being around a fire, and there's people who've got all the time in the world to listen to each other. So it's maybe I'm not thinking of airplay, or you know what I mean. I'm not trying to think of radio friendly, or I'm just thinking, well, this is the story it is. And if you're sitting with other people around sharing songs, or sitting there around a fire, or drinking, or then songs are never too long in that context. And you can learn more about someone around a fire than if it was your neighbour leaning over a fence, So, so I suppose, it's hard to know when you've abandoned one or if it's finished. But coming back to one now and again, I guess you might change it a bit, but it's pretty rare because you tend to move on, But it's a nice feeling to think, oh, I think it's complete now. It's like a wine that's you left in the bottle, and is it ready to drink yet, But it's a bit different for that, fermenting away. Don't know.
Your songs have always struck me as songs that really couldn't be done justice by other artists covering them. They seem to suit your voice, written for your voice, your accent, if you like. Does that make sense to you? In some ways, I might understand it, because I know phrasing is quite important, and people used to always say, oh, Dylan, he can't sing. But actually, I think Dylan's phrasing is what makes him, because he's the songwriter. And I think phrasing is a lot to do with how we sing our own songs and how we know them in that way. I could say Nat King Cole. I mean, I could go back to Frank Sinatra, talk about phrasing. But I think there are people who've done a couple of songs, and they're very different. They're not. I'm not saying I disapprove of them, but they're just different. And if people have asked me, can I do your song? I said, yeah, make it your own. Make it your own, and help it evolve. It's funny. I was singing
I think it was in Canada, or some years ago, and I was singing, and someone shouted out for a song called "The Right Mistake." I remember it, and I couldn't quite remember it. And I said, "Why don't you come up and sing it with me?" And they were Canadian, anyway. And I sang the harmony with them, and it was quite funny because they sang it, but in my own accent, because they heard it in an accent, and it was quite funny. They were Canadian. It was quite sweet in a way, and I realised, all of us from a certain generation way back would sing. Trying to sing that Elvis or whoever you were brought up with, So
Yeah.
it's quite sweet, but it's flattering too. But I think it's good people sing their own accents. I mean, I'm all for Australian in Australia they're singing great people like weddings, parties, and Mick Thomas and
Yeah.
Paul Kelly and all lovely songwriters, and Kev Carmody and whoever you've got rich. Everyone's singing their own accent. I think that's great because you're not trying to be anyone else, and it's just who you are. So. I think that's just what happens with getting older and realising you just can't. What's the point of being anyone else? You can't be anyone else. You've got to be yourself. So, as Rick Nelson said, if you can't please everyone, you've got to please yourself.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Your songs cover a wide range of subjects and topics, but those songs of yours with a social or political nature, I've never really felt when I hear those songs that I'm being preached to or having your views forced upon me. Is there an art form in writing a song of that nature to avoid that type of preachiness?
I think I do try and celebrate life in a kind of way in song at the same time as... So I've always thought of my songs as love songs, and some are angrier than others. So, and they're but I've never wanted to preach to people or bore anyone. I've always wanted to make people have a good time and reach out to people to bring them in towards me. So rather than alienate them, I mean I can do that alienating bit later on, maybe disturb them then. So there's a kind of double-edged thing in that I might, as an artist or as artists, some of us like to think that we like to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable, in some kind of, there's a kind of double-edged thing in that, where you want to celebrate life as well at the same time. So I do try and do that, and try to find a life and celebrate the life that we have in the moment, as well as, at the same time, because I think we can always fight for tomorrow, but we always have to live in the moment now, because that's where we are with our kids, watching them grow up and that kind of thing. So, and I never want to forget that. So I've got a song that's about guns. Well, it's about a gun, but actually it's a song about celebrating the use of tools that I've got, and I've been singing, and a newer one, and that in a way is I'm trying to celebrate something in someone's work and what they use things for, and what they don't have use for things for. So yeah, I think I try and go out my way to do that, and also it's the human side of things. It's like an oral. It's like singing with a voice, someone's voice. I might want to celebrate the fruit market, the 400-year-old fruit and vegetable market, and to me that's political anyway, because it's all about people. I'm not trying to persuade someone for a certain way, but just get them to think and provoke. I suppose sometimes there are some of my songs, the darker ones, and that I like to provoke or disturb, provoke something and get a reaction from, and I have a dark sense of humour. It might go with that, So, and I might take on a different voice in order to do that, a different accent even, just to play the part of some kind of redneck fundamentalist, or something like that. But in the end, they're love songs, I think. So that's how I see it anyway.
Mm. So for you through the years, what's been the benchmark by which you've measured that you're on a successful path with your career?
A benchmark? Well, earning a living, I suppose, really.
Yeah.
As basic as that. I feel privileged I can do what I do. Although I'm a driver, really. I drive all day and night to get the gigs, and after the gig I'll drive, and I get to the next one, and I feel like I get paid for driving, and the gigs are free. All the travelling I've done with all that kind of touring. Benchmark? Oh, I don't know. Blimey. Well, when kids, I don't know, when people come up and say that song, if a song moved them, or I've articulated something they felt, or I've had someone come up in tears because of a song I did about an unmarried mother, and I had two songs about from the different points of view, and one was from the child's point of view and one from the mother's, and what would happen if they were both from different points of view with different endings. And so I've had someone come up and say, I'd like to hear that other song. I'm that orphan that you're talking about who wanted to know who his mum was, And so those moments make me feel, I don't know, it's worthwhile, and it's a kind of benchmark, because to be honest, I mean, yes, I do. Of course I do it for money, but I've done gardening for money and other things, so there is a bit of a mission in a kind of way, because I do it for love, for the love of doing it, and I'd do it even if I wasn't paid. I mean, I play around friends' houses. I've done secret. I've done old folks' homes, and all different kinds of things, and I still do that. But I'll do something else for the money if I really had to. So, but the benchmark, kind of success. Well, having a job and having a gig, coming to Australia in March, and coming back. I haven't been for a while, but that must be good. I mean, if I can come back and pay for, get money back for all my flights that I've paid for, and and all the work, that agents have spent, Kath and whoever, and I get to see it, and I get to see people who I haven't seen for a while and catch up with bits of myself I've left around Australia probably, or here and there, and I hope I have a bit of time, to catch up and have a drink, or at least a cup of tea, and then drive on. But I get frustrated if I can't catch up with people. So there's all that, I suppose. That love of my friends and people. It's like a family kind of idea. It sounds a bit idealistic, but it kind of is that way. And you don't see everyone every day. So
yeah, true.
Health, good health, I think, as my dad would say. Can't beat that. Can't buy that.
You've been here many times through the years. We like to think we're something of a second home to you. What is it about Australian audiences that you think has struck this connection?
Oh, blimey. Well, there's a history there in Australia that I understand. Language, of course. There's a language. I think Australian feel for language. In fact, I remember going to see. God, was it? I can't think of his name, but there's Australian country singers, and then there's American. But I remember going to see. Was it Snowy? What's his name? I forgot his name now. But anyway, there's a feel for language in Australia that I like. And people appreciate, which is something, and it's got that feeling of the big skies and the earth there. I don't know, without getting too like an expat or something. Australia missing home, but. And well, there's friends that I've met there and as well, and lots of jamming, and I've done at festivals, being the first to start jamming and the last to leave and all that, and with other people, and you have a bonding moment. So it's a bit of that bonding thing, I suppose, with people. Language is a lot to do with it, and history. I'm sure it is that, and also having the privilege of touring in certain places where some even Australians told me that they hadn't been. And I mean, with Kev, we did a Black Whitefella tour and up St Creek and Dan Grieg, places up Darwin Way and in Broome, over in Broome there, and around fires singing with people and Indigenous folks there, or local guys and tested the Pilgrim Brothers and Tonchi over there. Lovely people, and just realising that everyone has stories to tell, and I think Australians have a lot of stories inside them, being, Australasia. I called it Australasia because of Asia, and it kind of, that identity that you Australians are looking for, being a new country, is exciting. I think that kind of, not a new world, but it's full of all that richness as well, and it's definitely worth celebrating, and it's good. I'm happy to see it. There's a whole mixture of people living, there and trying to make ends meet, of course, but no, it's good. I don't know. I like it.
You mentioned before being paid for driving and the gigs are free. Can the road become tiresome at times? Is it difficult to maintain an enthusiasm for all the travel?
I think when I'm touring here, I've got a van that I can sleep in, and that's my sanity. I can cook in it, so I drive at night, and when the adrenaline's flowing, and I don't know, I'm on my own. I might have the radio on. It might be the only time I listen to music, actually, is when I'm driving, or I might get a talking book from the library and listen to a book, because I haven't got time to read sometimes. So it's nice hearing a book. So it is tiring, but I kind of sometimes decide, because I want to get back home and see my partner and have time with the kids and family. So I limit. I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but also when I'm going to places and doing a gig, I get energised from that. I'm there. It is kind of a mission. I had a partner years ago who said, "Oh, you're soldiering like a soldier. You're soldiering on," because I was, I had to be somewhere, and you have to be quite disciplined, and you can't just, you might stay up all night and still got to get up, after drinking or leathering. So, you've got to look after your health and all that. But I think doing the gig, I still enjoy playing, and hopefully I'm always asking people at a gig, look, do come and say hello. I'd like to know, I've been singing about myself, and I knew about my grandma and my mum and my life, and I don't know much about yourself. It's slightly one-sided, so I'm always like to, know who's out there, and they might come up and say hello, and I ask them not to be shy. And I've got to put my guitar and wind up all this stuff, leads and that, but I can do that. I can multitask, It's my feminine side coming out. But so that's the payoff, really.
Yeah,
that's all right. And I realise I've got used to working hard. I suppose I'm getting older. I do. There's a few aches and pains, but I think that's what happens. If you're standing on stage 3 hours and then driving for 5 or 6, and the circus work and all the physical stuff in the past damaged my spine. So there's a bit of that kind of stuff. But adrenaline's a great painkiller, John. So living on adrenaline, I don't drink coffee anymore. So
all right.
So whether that's my addiction, adrenaline, I don't know. But I don't have to go rock climbing for it. But but it's the endorphins kick in. So
yeah.
so it's being as alive as you can, in that moment, I suppose, I don't know, whatever that might be, each time. So it's just a mission thing, I suppose. Yeah.
Talk about your upcoming shows here. I believe there's a new album coming out next month or in March. Is that right?
Yes, I'm hoping so. Yeah, I've been mixing it, and it might be a shorter one. It might be an EP. I'm still trying to decide. I've got lots of stuff recorded in different projects, but I'm deciding whether I should separate them. Because I've got collaborations with a fiddle player and a nickel harper and different stuff. So I'm trying to decide what's going to be on it. But yes, I'm releasing another album. Yeah.
So I'm guessing we'll hear a lot of these new songs in your upcoming shows.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. I've just been. My sister was filming Christmas. I've done a couple of videos to go with them, just to kind of I don't know, experiment with video and a bit of editing and stuff, and playing some of the songs, a couple of the songs, just people can watch it, maybe come to the gig, or maybe it'll turn them off. Maybe they won't. I don't know, but just experimenting, storytelling still. But yes, but I'm hoping I'll have it pressed and ready to when I come over.
Brilliant.
Sure.
You don't strike me as the type of guy that goes out on stage with a prepared set list because of the spontaneity of your shows. Do you go out with some sort of an idea of what you're going to cover?
Sometimes, yeah. There might be a song that comes up, and I want to really sing every night because I'm the new one. It's always going to be the new ones doing that with you, really. But there might be an old song I've dug up and I've shortened it or something's happened in the news, or so I might have an inkling of what I might sing because of circumstances and what's going on in the world or what's happened locally somewhere. But sometimes, very very often, I don't know what I'm going to sing. It could be someone in the audience. Something happens, and I think, I'll do that one. I sometimes talking to myself on stage. In a way, I'm talking to the audience, but I'm also talking to myself a bit. And I suddenly remember, oh God, I haven't done that for ages. Or let's have a go at that. If I make a mistake, or it's my own song, I can do what I like with it. But reinvent it. But I don't always know. No.
Wow. Well, Rory, it's great catching up with you, and you're much loved and always welcome here. So we're really looking forward to seeing you again. Oh well, thanks for listening and me blather away, and look forward to seeing you. It'd be nice to catch up with yourself as well. Yep. Hopefully, trying to get to the Spotted Mallard gig, so we'll catch you there.
Oh, that'd be nice. That's a nice place. Yeah, I remember
It
that
is,
place.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
Looking
thank you.
forward
Well,
to it.
do you sing yourself, John, and play? Or?
No, I don't. No, purely a fan.
Oh, all right. You play records and obviously and vinyl and whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, if you're ever over here, give us a call because I've got lots of vinyl. I could play me, lots of favourites and you must see this one. This is mad, or you know what I mean. I don't get a chance to do it, but having moved house recently, I've got all my records back in one place. So
Cool.
I've still got loads of them. Yeah, I used to go in second-hand record shops when I was a kid, buying old stuff and this and that and weird, just that looks interesting. I've never heard of that before, that new instrument or whatever. So, but yes, thank you. Anyway, sorry, I've gone on a bit then.
That's all right. Fantastic, Rory. Take care. We'll then have a safe flight over, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
All right, John. Thanks, mate. Love you all there. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye, John. Bye. Bye.